What if I told you the life you're living isn't really yours? What if everything you thought defined you, your job, your name, your social roles, your successes, wasn't your truth, but a mask carefully crafted to survive in a world that never knew the real you? You see, there comes a moment, sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once, when you look around and ask, whose life is this? You're surrounded by people, yet feel unseen. You're achieving, feel empty. You're breathing, but you're not alive. This moment is sacred. It's the first crack in the illusion. It's not a breakdown. It's the beginning of a breakthrough. Carl Jung, a Swiss psychologist who reshaped modern depth psychology, called this the start of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are beyond all social conditioning. According to Jung, life doesn't truly begin until we awaken to the unconscious parts of ourselves, until we face our shadow, until we meet the self we've buried under years of pretending. That realization hits you like thunder. You've been asleep. You've been playing a role. You've been surviving someone else's idea of you. This isn't about self-help hype. This is about soul excavation. It's not about fixing yourself. It's about finding yourself, a self that was never broken, only hidden. Most people will never reach this point. Why? Because staying asleep is easier. The world rewards conformity, celebrates the mask, fears depth. So we learn to play along. We choose comfort over truth. We betray ourselves for belonging. Something within you is stirring. Whisper, longing, quiet rebellion. You're tired of the noise. You crave something real. This is the call to awaken, not in some mystical, abstract sense, but in a raw, honest, soul-shaking way. You're being asked to pause, reflect, remember. Who were you before the world told you who to be? Who are you when no one is watching? That is the beginning of real life. Not the life filled with status or applause, the one filled with meaning, depth, and authenticity. When you find yourself, truly, deeply, beneath all the layers, you don't just change how you live. You change what you live for. You stop asking, what should I do? And start asking, who am I really? And that one question unravels the entire script you've been handed. Pulls you out of autopilot and places you at the center of your own existence. This is the first step. Not becoming something new, unbecoming everything that isn't you. This is the sacred fire, the spark of awareness, the return to self. And once you've seen it, once you've remembered who you are, you can never go back to sleep. We live much of our lives behind a carefully constructed mask, persona designed not for truth, but for survival. Carl Jung referred to this outer identity as the persona, the version of ourselves we present to the world in order to be accepted, loved, and approved. It serves a purpose, especially in childhood, and acceptance often means safety. But as we grow older, this mask can become a prison. We begin to notice a split. The person we are in public and the person we secretly feel ourselves to be. First, we dismiss this discomfort. We tell ourselves it's normal. We strive harder to fit in, be liked, keep everything looking perfect. Beneath that facade, our real self, one that feels, dreams, questions, and desires, starts to stir. And with that stirring comes discomfort, discontent, and even despair. The moment we start to feel misaligned with our outer identity is the moment we step onto the path of self-discovery. It is the first act of rebellion in a world obsessed with conformity. The journey inward is not easy. To confront the self means to confront everything we've buried. Our fears, our shame, our suppressed anger, our unlived dreams. Jung called this the shadow, the hidden part of our psyche that holds everything we deny, reject, or fear about ourselves. But here's the paradox. Within the shadow lies the gold. Parts of us that are wild, passionate, intuitive, and true have also been cast into the darkness because they didn't fit the roles we were taught to play. Shadow work, the process of bringing these unconscious parts into the light, is not about fixing what's broken. It's about reclaiming what's been forgotten. When you begin this work, you may feel as though your world is crumbling. But in truth, it is only the false world that's falling apart. And beneath it lies something raw, something sacred, your authentic self. This self doesn't care about societal approval. It doesn't wear labels or chase shallow goals. It values truth over comfort, presence over performance. And yet, embracing this self comes at a cost. People may leave. Identities may dissolve. Careers may shift. What you gain is immeasurable: inner peace, clarity, and the power to live with integrity. There will be resistance. The ego does not want to surrender its control. It thrives on structure, identity, and familiarity. The soul wants freedom, truth, and wholeness. The battle between the ego and the soul is the essence of transformation. And each time you choose authenticity over conformity, healing over hiding, soul over ego, you win that battle. This stage of the journey also brings a deeper understanding of compassion, not just for yourself, for others. When you realize how much of your own suffering came from being disconnected from your true self, you begin to see how others are trapped in the same illusion. You stop judging and start empathizing. You stop comparing and start connecting. In this phase, meditation, journaling, inner child healing, and deep self-reflection become tools for liberation. You start asking different questions, not how can I be more successful? What does my soul truly need? Not how do I get others to like me? How can I like myself truly and deeply? Each step you take inward is a step toward truth. And though the road is dark and narrow, it leads to something luminous, life that is real, grounded in self-awareness and purpose. You are no longer trying to be someone. You are becoming who you already are. An awakening requires a death of illusion, of identity, of everything that is not truly you. At a certain point in the journey of self-discovery, something profound begins to unfold. It is not just the questioning of your identity, it is the quiet crumbling of it. The mask you've worn for so long, the roles you've played, the achievements you've clung to, none of it holds weight anymore. The false self begins to dissolve, and with it, your illusions of who you thought you were. Carl Jung described this as part of the individuation process, symbolic death that leads to a spiritual rebirth. And like any true death, it is not without pain. This isn't the kind of pain caused by external events. It's the deep, aching grief of realizing you've lived far from your truth. It's mourning the time lost, dreams abandoned, and the self you betrayed to be accepted. Take heart, this death is not the end. It is the beginning of soul initiation. What is dying is not your essence, but your conditioning. What's falling away is not your value, but your illusion of control. You are shedding the skin of your former self to make room for something deeper, more eternal, self. Self, in Jungian terms, is not just your personality or ego. It is the totality of your being, conscious and unconscious, light and shadow, masculine and feminine, human and divine. It is your blueprint of wholeness, the unchanging core that has always been there, waiting beneath the noise of the world. The death of the false self is like winter in the soul. Things grow silent. Friends may fade away. Certainties collapse. There may be confusion, fear, even despair. Just as winter prepares the ground for spring, the sacred unraveling clears the path for something new to emerge. Only in the emptiness can the soul speak. You may feel lost. This is sacred territory. Many turn back here, clinging to old roles and relationships for safety. But if you can sit with the discomfort, resist the urge to escape, and allow the process to unfold, you'll find something extraordinary waiting on the other side, your soul's voice. The soul does not shout. It whispers. It speaks in intuition, synchronicity, dreams, symbols, and quiet longings. It is not concerned with status, performance, or perfection. It seeks alignment, depth, purpose, and truth. The soul asks not, What do others want from me? What do I desire in the marrow of my being? As your soul awakens, life begins to feel different. You are no longer performing, you are being. You no longer hustle to prove your worth. You feel worthy because you exist. You no longer seek approval, you trust your inner compass. And with this rebirth comes a new way of seeing. The world appears more vivid, more symbolic, more interconnected. You begin to see yourself not as a separate identity, but as a thread in the larger fabric of life. There is no need to dominate, compete, pretend. Instead, you live from the inside out. This is the essence of transformation, not improvement, transmutation. Not becoming better, becoming whole. And this wholeness is not perfection, it is inclusion. It is allowing all parts of yourself, your fear, your joy, your failures, your gifts, to sit at the same table. You no longer exile your brokenness, you hold it with compassion. You no longer silence your intuition, you let it guide you. This is the birth of the soul. Not in some distant future, not after years of effort. Right here, right now, in your willingness to let go of who you are not. Become real is not a softening, it is a breaking open. After the death of the false self and the awakening of the soul, you stand at a threshold. What comes next is not a return to comfort, but a commitment to truth. It is here that you begin to live authentically, no longer dictated by external scripts, guided by your inner compass. Authenticity is not easy. In a world that rewards performance, truth can feel like rebellion. To be real means to walk away from approval, risk being misunderstood, stand alone when necessary. It is to say no when everyone expects a yes, choose integrity over belonging, and to honor your soul's voice even when it trembles. Carl Jung understood this well. He wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Privilege does not mean ease. Becoming real often requires painful honesty, first with yourself, then with the world. You will be asked to confront the parts of you that still seek validation. You will face the urge to shrink, conform, return to old patterns. Something deeper now guides you. Soul that refuses to be silenced. Living authentically means living with presence and vulnerability. You begin to show up as you are, not as you're expected to be. You start saying what you mean, feeling what you feel, and letting go of roles that no longer fit. It is raw, it is liberating, and it is powerful. In this phase, pain becomes a teacher. Instead of avoiding discomfort, you meet it head-on. You begin to ask what your wounds are trying to reveal. You no longer see pain as punishment, but as initiation. You realize that much of your suffering came not from life itself, but from resisting life, trying to be someone you're not, forcing yourself into boxes that were never made for you. There's a quiet strength in becoming real. It doesn't shout, it doesn't boast, but it's unshakable. When you live in alignment with your true self, you no longer need to control everything. You trust the process. You trust yourself. You become rooted, not in identity, but in essence. You also begin to redefine power. No longer is power about dominance or image. It becomes the power of presence, the power of truth, the power of wholeness. You stop seeking to be right and instead seek to be real. You stop competing and start connecting. Power becomes service, not status. Authenticity becomes your rebellion and also your liberation. This stage is also where boundaries emerge. Because when you know who you are, you also know what you will no longer tolerate. You stop leaking your energy into relationships that drain you, into obligations that betray your soul, into roles that no longer serve your growth. You begin to protect your peace, not out of fear, but out of reverence for your own aliveness. And with each boundary you honor, you send a message to your inner self. I am worthy. I am sacred. I am real. You begin to attract differently, too. People, opportunities, and experiences that once matched your mask begin to fade. But in their place come those who see you, truly see you, not for what you do, but for who you are. These are the soul-aligned connections. Rare, unmistakable. Be real is not to be perfect. It is to be whole. Be fully human and fully divine. Cry when you're in pain. Laugh without apology. Stand in your truth even when it shakes you. In a world addicted to image, becoming real is a radical act. And yet, it is the only path to freedom. Because everything you seek, peace, power, love, purpose, begins not with becoming more, with becoming yourself. When you have walked through the illusion of identity, embraced your shadow, survived the death of the false self, and anchored into authenticity, something remarkable happens. Life begins, not the life others designed for you, the life you were born to live. This is not the beginning marked by birth or age, by conscious awakening. Carl Jung believed that true life begins only when we individuate, when we become whole and no longer live through projections or personas. It is the moment we stop living on autopilot and begin living with intention. But with this awakening comes an unexpected paradox. The more free you become, the more responsible you must be. Freedom is not about escaping obligations or abandoning all structure. It is about aligning your life with your truth and understanding that every choice is sacred. With deep self-knowledge comes deep accountability. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are a co-creator of your reality. This is a powerful shift. You begin to realize that how you speak, how you love, how you show up in the world, it all matters. Every word, every action, every silence becomes a reflection of your inner state. There's no one left to blame. There's no mask left to hide behind. There is only you, whole, aware, and present. And so, you begin to live differently. You don't chase validation, you embody self-worth. You don't perform for applause, you speak from truth. You don't wait for permission, you act from alignment. This is spiritual maturity, not perfection, responsibility, not control, trust, not fear, faith in your inner compass. You realize that freedom is not the absence of commitment, it is the deepest form of devotion. Devotion to your soul, truth, living in harmony with your values. It is the kind of freedom that liberates not just you, everyone you touch. Because when one person becomes real, they unconsciously give others permission to do the same. This is also when purpose begins to emerge, not as a job title or an external mission, but as a natural expression of your being. You stop asking, what should I do with my life? And start living the question, how can I be fully alive in each moment? You realize that your very presence, aligned and authentic, is the purpose. The doing flows from the being. You begin to lead not from status, but from soul. Whether you are a parent, artist, healer, leader, quiet presence in someone's life, your energy becomes medicine. Your integrity becomes a mirror. Your life becomes a lighthouse for others who are still searching in the dark. This is the true beginning. Not loud, steady, not flashy, rooted. It's the moment you no longer seek life out there. Recognize it as something rising from within. And once you touch this space, the sacred ground of your own soul, there is no going back. You now carry the responsibility of being real in a world that profits from illusion. But it is also the most liberating, meaningful, and joyful path you can walk. Because you are no longer pretending. You are no longer split. You are whole. And from this wholeness, everything becomes possible. Life does not truly begin when we are born, nor when we achieve or succeed. Life begins when we find ourselves, when we gather the broken pieces, look into the mirror of truth, and dare to say, this is who I am, and I will no longer abandon myself. Carl Jung taught us that wholeness, not perfection, is the goal of the soul. This path is not linear, not painless, not for the faint of heart. It is real. And in that realness lies the only freedom worth having. So if you are here, on the edge of awakening, know this, you are not lost. You are arriving. Every wound was a doorway. Every fall was a lesson. Every shadow was a guide. This is the beginning of your real life. Welcome home.